Hello, my name is AJ Vina, and today our TikTok presentation will be conducted by Nyala, Rosalinda, and Wendy. Enjoy. Sexuality connects to sex, gender identities, roles, sexual orientations, and intimacy. It is reflected through thoughts, values, beliefs, practices, relationships, and attitudes. The interactions of factors such as psychological, biological, ethical, cultural, as well as religious and spiritual factors have an influence on one's sexuality. Human sexuality is the way people experience and express themselves sexually. This includes emotions attributed to sexual motivations and ideology. Sexual orientation is a person's identity in relation to the genders to which they are typically sexually attracted to. It is a sexual pattern chosen by the individual that is dependent on their sexual feelings. A person's sexuality is fluid and can change in the course of someone's life. Now I'm going to present to you a quick 3-minute video that goes into deeper analysis of sexuality as it relates to biology and social-cultural factors.
In recent years, healthcare centers have started understanding the importance of incorporating sexual orientation and gender identity, or SOGI, in their medical records. Traditionally, one's assigned sex at birth is their biological sex, which depends on their sex chromosomes. If they have a Y chromosome, their biological sex is male. If they have 2 X chromosomes, their biological sex is female. However, things aren't that simple. For example, a person could have a Y chromosome, but they're missing specific genes that encode for specific male characteristics, so even though they're chromosomally male, they appear as what is stereotypically described as female. So you're thinking biological sex can be linked back to genes, right? Well, things get even more complicated than that. Some genes get expressed at high levels and others at low levels. So a person may have genes that express a high level of testosterone and little or no estrogen or progesterone, or vice versa. Finally, hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone bind to receptors, and some people may have lots of receptors that can easily bind to hormones, whereas others may have very few receptors. In many cases, these people are intersex individuals whose bodies do not fit into the standard definition of male or female. The bottom line is that biology is messy, and like most things, biological sex exists on a spectrum. Now, separate from the biological construct of sex is gender identity and gender expression. Gender identity is a person's own sense of their gender, and gender expression is how they present themselves to the world. Many people identify as either man or woman, but there are also various types of non-binary gender, or gender identities that lie outside of the man-woman dichotomy. For example, someone could identify with multiple genders, such as native or indigenous two-spirits do. Furthermore, some will identify with a gender that's neither man or woman, while others may have a more fluid gender identity. Some individuals identify themselves as transgender, when their gender identity is discordant from the sex assigned at birth. Meanwhile, there are people who don't feel any of these labels describe them or don't like the idea of identifying with a specific gender at all. Neither biological sex nor gender identity determines a person's sexual orientation. This concerns what gender or genders an individual is sexually and/or romantically attracted to. An individual can be heterosexual, which means they're attracted to a different gender, or they're attracted to the same gender, and the preferred term is gay, not homosexual. An individual can also be bisexual, meaning attracted to 2 or more genders, or pansexual, meaning that they are attracted to any gender. Some people identify as asexual, where they may not experience sexual attraction to anyone. Finally, terminology continues to change and evolve, and the words that people use to describe their sexual orientation is ever-changing and evolving as well.
TikTok is becoming a really popular platform for people to come out on. The unique part about TikTok is that it's a social media app that doesn't necessarily connect you with the people that you know in real life. You can go viral without your friends and family knowing, and for some TikTokers, TikTok is a safe haven to express themselves. It's also a really great way to connect with new LGBTQ people, and teens can find the support that they need through TikTok that they may not have in real life. TikTok also provides a variety of creative ways for people to come out on. come out to their family and friends. So if teens find it hard to express their gender identities to the people they're coming out to, they can do so by lip syncing to a pre-made dialogue or acting out a trend. There's also some that would make a video in advance for their loved ones to watch, or they would do so by singing a song to express their gender identity. So the picture on this slide is a TikToker named Matt Sai, and he made a song about being bi, and he also explained his gender identity to his mom, and his mom was really supportive about it, and she also really liked the song.
Hi, my name is Rosalinda. I'm going to be talking a little bit about how the LGBTQ adolescents community use of TikTok relates to a lot of the things we've learned in class. So, one of the first things I kind of want to talk about is perspective taking. And so, perspective taking is a part of adolescents' cognitive development. TikTok allows adolescents to have new social interactions with much larger audience. It provides them with access from users from all over the world, which also means they're exposed to perspectives from all over the world. They are also now exposed to social perspectives that they may not have been exposed to in the past, which could mean a lot of things. So these interactions shape societal perspectives, which could be both positive or a negative thing. So one way that it's positive would be that LGBTQ voices are being made more visible, which could lead to it being more accepted. It also means at the same time that there's a lot of anti-LGBTQ content being spread, which can be incredibly harmful for the community and harmful for how a lot of LGBTQ youth look at themselves. Another thing I want to talk a little bit about is adolescence egocentrism. So, adolescence egocentrism is a portion of adolescence cognitive development. It's that feeling of personal uniqueness or the feeling of kind of being the main character. So, oftentimes, adolescents create a personal fable. They feel as if no one can understand how they feel. For adolescents, it's a difficult time for many young people. They may struggle with connecting with their family members, so instead, they choose to connect more with their peers. TikTok creates a space in which they're able to find like minded young people. Through the algorithms and hashtags, young people are able to easily access people they identify more with. They're able to use hashtags that include, like for the community we're talking about specifically, they can use hashtag LGBTQ, LGBTQ Pride are some of the more popular ones. And so these hashtags create a connection so that people are able to identify with their specific maybe gender identity or sexuality. It creates spaces more accessible, so like spaces for trans youth or maybe bisexuality are more easily accessible for those who may be more curious to explore those topics. Adolescents also create an imaginary audience. They believe that other people are interested in their lives and they do things to get attention to become more visible. So we see trends like I'm the main character or oversharing on the app that allows young people to have their desired audience and provides them with the attention they speak or seek. They often post in hopes of becoming viral influencers and gaining larger audience so that they can kind of have their main character moment. Another thing I want to talk about is how TikTok is a tool for socialization. So, social media apps such as TikTok have become increasingly influential in regards to adolescent socialization. Major creators on the apps are actually referred to as influencers. Media/social media is incredibly influential in shaping adolescents' cultural beliefs. They create trends, and in many ways, they set cultural norms. For example, they have helped further the use of pronouns in a way that had not maybe been as spread as before. The primary audience for TikTok is adolescents and young adults, although we do see influence of adults on TikTok. So when it comes to the LGBTQ community, we see this as adults providing advice and support for LGBTQ youth because they have already experienced many of the struggles, so they themselves hope to support the young people in a way that they may have not received in their own journey. Adolescents are largely influenced by their peers and the platform itself. So TikToks are highly based on viewer algorithm. So this allows for people with similar interests to have greater access to each other. This really helps to build a sense of community and family for these young people, especially the LGBTQ community. The algorithm often seems to be highly specific for um, like-minded people, though it's not always perfect. At time, it does risk exposing young people to, I guess you could say, a darker side of TikTok, which may include people who are anti-LGBTQ and spread more hateful content. And the final thing I do want to talk a little bit about is TikTok and identity. So as young people grow, so does their cognitive development. They're able to create a better sense of self and self-identity. TikTok provides a space for self-expression as well as a place to create an online persona. So adolescents are able to show a version of themselves they may not be comfortable with sharing in their real life, aka their day-to-day life. This is especially true for LGBTQ youth who may not have a safe place to express their identity. Oftentimes, young people post TikToks talking about their struggles with expressing their sexuality or gender identity, but online it feels like they can create a safe place to do so and allow them to kind of shape their own identity through what they see.
Hi, my name is Nayeli, and today I'll be talking about positive aspects of posting coming out stories on TikTok that my team observed. And the variety of coming out stories the youth post on TikTok provides adolescents with content that many of them can connect with because some may see themselves being represented in the videos. These videos also speak to the intersectionality of different aspects of the self that shape people's identity. Because gender stereotypes and norms are enforced throughout the youth's prepubescent and adolescent lives, part of their identity is shaped in these terms. However, as Piaget describes, adolescents undergo cognitive development and develop an ability to think abstractly about their identity. This allows adolescents to explore different versions of their possible selves or abstract self-conceptions. The coming out stories describe different terms for a variety of sexual orientations and gender identities, which allows students to find new identities that better express their actual selves. Piaget describes formal operations as adolescents being able to practice complex thinking, and that means that these adolescents watching these TikToks may practice self-reflection and see themselves mirrored in the content and creators of coming out TikTok videos. So on the slide, you see a couple examples of what we're talking about in terms of the adolescents commenting on a lot of these coming out stories and finding relatability to them. And so this section is part of like the representation of like their abstract self and their actual selves that they may see in these. Next slide, please. So, although cultivation theory and social learning theory describe consumers of media as being passive or even easily manipulated, there's an alternative approach that views adolescents' relationship with media to be a bit more complex than that. The uses of gratification approach views adolescents as active media consumers who choose to watch and partake in certain media contents because they receive some form of gratification from it. And it also explains that different individuals have different reactions to the same media content. So these TikTok creators provide their viewers with informations like definitions of various sexual identity terms, the usage of different pronouns, and their personal experience with revealing their sexual and gender identities to their family or friends and others. Although these adolescent TikTok creators may have an infinite number of reasons for posting content, some of the reasons may include hoping to share this information to educate the public or starting discussions about gender and sexual identity or even seeking validation from their audience. So a lot of adolescents also have a variety of reasons for choosing to consume this content, like learning about diverse identities that they or someone they know may identify as, or the content also validates their personal experiences. So in these examples picked out for the knowledge slide, a lot of these TikTok creators create content that give definitions or explanations of different gender identity and sexual orientations. And as you can see in the comments, some of these adolescents comment that this is new information to them, or it's useful information, or maybe they had before identified as bisexual, but now with this new definition that they're consuming, they identify as pansexual, and so forth. Some of the videos on TikTok also spread awareness of the challenges that many of these adolescents face when they're exploring various identities and forming and reshaping their own identity. Next slide, please. So my last slide kind of talks about how these coming out stories on TikTok can be used as a tool of empowerment for these adolescents. The video postings create a sense of community and belonging, and they also allow adolescents to interact with the content. As part of the adolescent's cognitive development, they're able to function with formal operations and can think critically about these discussions of gender identity and sexual orientations that these TikToks provide. In the comment section, they can comment on their own experience coming out to their family, friends. They can also express challenges they face or even post their thoughts on more complex issues that they face with their identities. Many of these adolescents also face heightened egocentrism and often think they're the only ones that experience certain difficulties, or that they're the only ones confused about their own sexual identities. The amount of adolescents commenting, sharing, and liking these coming up posts validates their experience and showcases that these adolescents are in fact not alone, despite feeling like they are. And they can be encouraged to think less about pleasing these imaginary audiences they surround themselves with, and instead focus on exploring themselves to figure out their actual selves. So the TikToks posted on this slide also speak about their coming out stories, and so a lot of the adolescents that comment on this often offer comments of support, saying that they're proud of them, or just spreading very positive comments towards how they deal with their coming out stories and their own identity formation, thus creating a sense of community and belonging, or validating shared experiences, and also just supporting other members of the community.
So there's also some negative aspect of coming out on TikTok. So the first one is the spread of misinformation. So many LGBTQ influencers will post their life on TikTok, and most of them will look like they have this perfect aesthetic life. And it might influence teens to come out when they're not ready to, just because they want to match the glorified lives that they saw online. Many of them, it might put them in potentially dangerous situations, such as getting kicked out of their homes or getting disowned by their community, and it might leave them with no place to go. And some teens might also feel like there's something wrong with them for not being as open as the other influencers. So there's also a toxic side to TikTok as well, where anti-LGBTQ people would gather and try to bring down others with hateful comments. So the woman in pink is Chelsea Brickham, and she's a trans woman. On one of her TikToks, she posted a response to one of the mean comments that she received, and it basically told her that she's a dude and she'll never be a woman. And her response ended up attracting a bunch of other hateful commenters. Many of them were telling her that she'll never be a woman, and one even said that they need bleach to get rid of the site. And as a cancer survivor herself, one of the comments told her that it was a shame that cancer didn't kill her. So for a young teen that's trying to find themselves and are looking for some support, these kind of comments might be damaging to them, and it might lead them to developing depression, anxiety, or other mental health issues. TikTok does ban accounts that post anti-LGBTQ contents, but they don't really do anything when it comes to hateful comments, and this might leave teens to vulnerable attacks.
TikTok provides a space for adolescents and teens to express themselves freely. Adolescents and teens find agency and individualism through TikTok, finding social and emotional connections through the form of social media communication. Like any social media platform, There are negative aspects of being open to the world about who someone truly is, but overall, the TikTok community is overwhelmingly positive. TikTok is an important tool used by some to feel empowered and open about themselves, while connecting them to communities that uplift their spirit and give them a sense of belonging. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.